Okay, everyone, I believe that I am live. That's the proof I needed. Okay, there we go. So, thank you so much to everybody who joins me. I'm doing things a little bit different this time. If you have been a part of my um, any of my lives recently, I've been doing them over on Facebook, and I did that on purpose because I have been trying really hard to set up some better everything, lights, sound, getting like the computer face figured out so that I can share pictures with you. And it's been a journey. It's been a journey, but each one I learned a lot from, and so I'm feeling pretty good about this one today. I'm still not where I want to be, but I'm teaching myself how to do all of this. And for any of you who have ever tried to teach yourself something, especially if it is technical, you know, it's a process. So, thank you all for joining me here. Um, the last live I did, we kind of talked about mothers, and that was for the flower moon. And so then that got me thinking about flowers, and that brought me to this topic called the language of flowers. So I don't know if you guys have heard about this or not. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. If you have and you have something interesting to share, by all means, please do comment it. I'm kind of trying to move between things, so it might be a minute before I see your comment, but I'll be happy to address it. Also, we're doing free oracle readings. So, today's readings, this comes from Kyle Gray's Angels and Ancestors Oracle cards. These readings will be completely free for anybody who comments, but I'm going to save them until after I have presented the information. So, with all of that there, I will remind you that I am a feral witch, a spellcaster, a tarot interpreter. So if you are interested in my services or you're just kind of curious about what it is that I do and what I offer, you can find me on Facebook at Sayward. You can find me on my website at www.findyourdivinity.com. I run sales pretty frequently. The super awesome one that's going on right now ends tomorrow. So if you're already familiar with me and you're kind of been thinking about it, so you know that one ends tomorrow. But I'm planning on putting out something new, so we'll see what happens. All right, let's see. Ah, Lizanne, thank you so much for coming over here. I appreciate it. It's so good to see you. It's nice that we have a division in time zones because it's the afternoon for me right here. And so I'm sure that it's kind of later in the evening for you. So you get a chance to attend, and that is awesome. I really do appreciate you showing up for me. Thanks, pal. All right, so enough of that. Let's get into this Victorian language of flowers. So, this language is it's referred to as floriography. And floriography has it was I'm going to tell you how it came about, but at face it was like the secret language because there were so many rules of courtship and of social interaction. You know, everybody was very straight laced, very worried about appearances. And so, to be able to have a deeper level of conversation, the Victorians went to flowers. Um, let's see. So, I'm going to start by throwing my mic off of the desk. And then we are going to take a look at the lady who started all of this. Her name was Lady Wortley Montague. Okay. And I am going to pull her up here. Well, I will in a second. Hold on, guys. I told you, I'm new. I'm working on it. I'm getting there. Let's see. Okay, now we can see her. And I think that I have fixed the problem of only being able to see half the pictures on the screen. All right. This is Lady Montague. There she is right there. And as you can see, she was a lady. She had some high class, some import, if you will. She married a man and they lived in Turkey. Well, Lady Montague is the reason why all this happened in the first place. So, Lady Montague wrote a letter. She wrote quite a few letters from Turkey. And in it, in a couple of her letters, actually, from 1717 and 1718. So this is the very start of this, okay? She was arguing that people needed to be inoculated for smallpox because, it was a big problem. But also, she was describing a she was she was describing what she thought was a greeting, like a secret Turkish greeting. She described it as a secret flower language that was used by harem women to communicate under the noses of their guards. Like, how risque, okay? How risque. We're talking about harem women? Secrets? Getting it under the noses of the guards? Like, wow. Okay. Um, but it turns out that this was not the case. Maybe. Supposedly. As the story goes, it was actually her misunderstanding some sort of Turkish rhyming game. But I did not get a chance to dig in far enough to try to figure out what game and is that true or is that not. Just, we're going to go kind of superficial here because I got a lot more to share. But anyway, it was her misinterpretation. But the thing is that the Victorian people at this time were absolutely obsessed with the East, the Orient, if you will. They were obsessed with it. So the idea that we have this secret, lusty language coming from Eastern harem women, it really stokes some fires. Now, again, we're talking about a culture and a civilization that right there, where they are so stuffy. They are so their collars literally go up as far as they can. Okay, um, they are stuffy people. The culture is stuffy. There are so many societal norms, so many expectations. The idea of just courting someone and trying to get to know them, show that you're interested in them, maybe see them for a date or considering marriage, to be able to even have those conversations, you had to go through a whole bunch of different people to do it. And so this flower language took hold because it offered a secret way for them to be able to be like, hey, babe, I like you. I don't like you. You're kind of a jerk. I think you're awesome, right? So it was this secret signal. But then it turned out to be not so secret. Not so secret at all. Because less than 100 years later, by 1810, the first flower dictionary was on the market. And by 1819, a definitive text called Le Langage des Fleurs was available and widely copied and widely ripped off. So people fell in love with this idea, but as all things happen, even today, you come up with a great idea and then everybody rips it off. We see it with everything from books and clothing to design and memes. Okay, it's how it happens. If something's really popular, people want to emulate it. People want their own piece of the pie, and that's what happened with this book. So let's take another look. Take a look at one of these books. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up this picture of the language of flowers, and you'll see Now, the one that I'm going to show you here, there it is. It's beautiful, right? Like we got this rose, and we got some chrysanthemums. I'm seeing some morning glories, and maybe some petunias. Okay, now this one is not the first edition. This is just from 1851, but this is one of the original copies of the quote unquote definitive text. Now, if you go around and you take a look, there were a whole bunch more. And as a matter of fact, later on, we're going to be talking about the one that I prefer the most, which is basically this text, but it has been translated from French into English. If you know anything about the Brits at that time, they were very obsessed with the French as well. Anything that kind of wasn't their own language they were about. And if the language of French is absolutely beautiful to listen to anyway, so I can totally understand why they were obsessed, right? It makes sense. Okay, so because this book took off, the idea the idea in the culture was that this was some rare elite language. Well, that idea kind of stuck around, but it wasn't the case because it was absolutely everywhere. And anybody who could read or who could listen to somebody else read could pick it up. So it became this giant phenomenon, an absolute phenomenon. Now, the Victorians, if you take a look at their art, their style, the home decor, the prints, the advertisements from the time, the dresses, all of that, these people were obsessed with flowers. They absolutely loved flowers. They decorated their homes with them. Tons of artwork were about them. And they were obsessed with the natural world in general, but particularly flowers. So let's talk a little bit more about that. Okay. The idea of the language of flowers not only had permeated society and everybody was trying to use it, but it also found its way into art. So we're going to take a look here at a painting. This is called Lady Lilith. It is by Dante Rossetti. Let me go ahead and pull up Lady Lilith here. Okay, let's see. Give me just a moment. I am working on it. We have not frozen. My brain has frozen. Oh, here we go. Here we go. All right. Now we're going back to it. There we go. I think this will do it. Okay. So, what do we see here? We got a lady. She's thoughtfully in her bed chambers, right? Brushing her hair, looking off in the distance, got a comb. What else do we see? Well, bunch of flowers, right? Bunch of flowers. So behind her are these white roses, and these white roses have a meaning. To the left of her on the dressing stand, we can see some foxglove, and to the lower right, we see a poppy. Now, looking at this from our untrained eye, initially we might be like, well, that's background filler, or oh, it was just something to make the picture look more pretty. And in a way, that's right. But at the time that this was created, these flowers held deep, deep, deep significance. For example, the white roses that we see behind her trailing off, they represent carnality. Okay? She is a carnal beast. She has desires, she has wants, she has feelings. The foxglove, interestingly enough, foxglove is a form of datura and it contains digitoxin. So It's actually used in cardiac medicines, and I could go on about that, but I won't. In this case, the foxglove represents uh, sloth, and it represents her being kind of not very focused, inattentive, perhaps dreamy. That is then followed up and pushed more towards the front of the scene here, we see with the red poppy. And the poppy has a lot of significance. If you go through the different um, offerings as far as the definitions of the poppy, they vary wildly, but the poppy oftentimes has sort of a hypnotic quality to it. Now, this is also interesting because the plant itself has a sedative quality. The seeds of the poppy and the latex that comes from the pod of the poppy are where we get morphine. So, this painting, just by the flowers that are in it, is telling us a lot about the lady who is sitting there dreamily looking away from herself and brushing her hair. So, very interesting stuff. I just thought that was so cool. So, yeah, we're going to talk. We're going to talk some more about those. But anyway, that was interesting, right? So, let's talk about the idea of these bouquets themselves. You would get a bouquet. All right. Somebody would give you a bouquet, either a large bouquet, a single flower, a couple of flowers, and you could essentially read a message from looking at this bunch of flowers. A lot of the times, these Victorian women also wanted to keep the flowers on them. They would use them to send messages and also to have received the messages. So, there is a thing. This is how they did it often. And I love this word. Absolutely love this word. Let me show you what they used. They used a thing that they called a tussy mussy. Yep, y'all are looking at a tussy mussy right now. Tussy mussy. So this is a beautiful example. We have the red leaded glass here along with all the silver ornamentation. This is absolutely beautiful, but it's kind of difficult to see. Up at the top here, you can kind of see this hinge pin. So this pin would have been used to attach this vase. Essentially, it's like a small vase or a vase for a couple flowers that would then be attached to the bodice of the dress. Now, I'm going to show you a couple more examples of these tussy mussies. There, you can see kind of how that worked a little bit better, what it was like. So, not only was it receiving, but being able to pin these to one's bodice also had a meaning. For example, if you were to receive one, or if you wanted to send a message to the man who had his eye on you, you might pin this to the center of your blouse. Now, if you pinned it to the center over your heart, then that was an acceptance. It was like a return of feelings. If you pinned this to the side of your blouse, like where most of us would pin a name badge or a flag or something, this was more of a sign of friendship. Like, I'm not completely denying you, but also, bruh. Here's a couple more porcelain examples. Of course, the Victorians were insanely interested in in porcelain and gold gilding, anything that made them feel like they were fancy and rich and usually French. So, anyway, thought that was pretty interesting, the tussy mussy. So another name for the tussy mussy was a nosegay. Now, we now have different meanings for the word gay, but the Victorians had gay it meant an ornament. So it was something that brought joy, right? It was something to adorn. And so then nosegay actually works out to being like an ornament that appeals to the nose, which makes sense, right? Because you've got this pretty thing that smells good. Yeah, it's interesting. Posy is also a Victorian term, and that is for the smaller ones. Now, today we might use the term posy like if you give someone a single flower, here's a posy. That's where it comes from. Um, yeah. So Tussie Mussies, nosegays, posies, whatever, from the 18th century back, they were very popular. And but the idea here in their case was that it was to ward off foul odors or the miasma. Okay, there was this prevalent idea that bad smells, foul odors could make one ill. And so they would use flowers, oils, whatever they could to prevent that miasma, that bad air, from coming into the body and causing, wreaking havoc everywhere, making them sick. With this language of flowers now, then, the thought of miasma kind of dwindled, but people retained the flowers because now they had another purpose of them. Um, and it was so popular that people would like look at one another, oh, Lady Dalton has this flower on. Do you see? Oh my. She's wearing violets. Oh, it was a whole thing. People were talking about it. It's crazy. Okay. So, speaking of people talking about it and being crazy, do you know this guy? I'm going to pull him up. We're going to talk here for a second about a pretty famous guy. You might know him when you see him. Yeah. There's my buddy, Oscar Wilde. So, Oscar Wilde, very, very famous writer. You'll notice in this picture, though, that everything is black and white, but there is one thing colored. This is a green carnation. And there's this wild story about the green carnation and why he's wearing it right now. This dude pulled the wool over an entire people's eyes and was able to create a social trend that, well, you'll hear. Okay, so Mr. Wilde here was running, he was getting ready to do one of his many theatrical plays. And as he was doing that, he really wanted to like drum up some interest. Okay, he really wanted to like get people to come to his show. So he came up with this idea. All right. He asked all of his friends. Now this is in the 1890s. So we're talking about a time when everybody knew about the flowers now. Everybody's watching the flowers. Okay? This is not a new concept. We've been doing it for, over 100 years. These flowers, we know. Oscar Wilde asked his friends and supporters to wear green carnations to his play. He said, I want a good many men to wear them tomorrow. People will stare and wonder. Then they will look round the house, meaning the theater. They'll look around and they'll see that every here and there are more and more of these little wild mystic specks of green. They'll wonder what they're for. And he insisted that they'd start asking themselves the most vital of questions. What on earth? What on earth can it mean? So, he did it. He put on the play. He asked his friends to do it. Guys, show up in green carnations. Come to my play. It's just a thing. Like, I don't want to tell you, but it's just a thing. Come on. So they do that. And the first night, there are green carnations. And the next night, there are more green carnations. And the third night, even more. and word starts to spread. Like, what is going on with this green carnation? I'm seeing all these people wearing green carnation. What does it mean? What does it all mean? I want to be a part of it. That's the new trend. So he creates this fashion trend, right, of green carnations. All of a sudden, everybody's wearing green carnations. And according to him, it means nothing. It means nothing. It's just this, like, thing that he's doing to try to generate buzz around his performance. So it's like a week later, this has spread, right? Oscar Wilde is super famous at the time. Everybody is like, they know about him already, okay? He's not like one of these artists that dies in obscurity, all right? They know about him already. But like a week after that, there's this London periodical which publishes a piece about these green carnations. Now, they're saying that it's a dialogue between this young lady named Isabel and Billy, an even younger and dandy, heavily implied to be gay, about the flower. All right? Which Billy received as a token of love from a much older man. And I don't need to tell you about how inappropriate that is, but we're talking about the Victorian times, so stick with me here. All right? Saying that that Billy's showing off his green carnation, and he's so nonchalant about it. He's like, "Oh, my green carnation. Oh, haven't you seen them? It's the newest thing out. They water them with arsenic, and it turns them green." So this London paper grabs onto this and is like, "Oh, yeah, no. This is the gay thing. Everybody who wears a green carnation, they're all gay." Yeah, like wild, right? Are you kidding me? It's wild. It's absolutely wild. Hey, Elizabeth, thanks for joining. It's absolutely wild. So, I don't know what we're doing there, but it's strange. So, by the way, green carnations do not actually they don't actually exist in nature. They're white ones. And back in the day, they did use heavy metals to do that. But today, we use malachite dye to color them. So, just thought that was interesting. Okay, so now we are going to get into the book itself, Language of Flowers. And then we're going to talk about one other little kind of like side piece that I think is really interesting. And then we'll be doing readings, okay? So, I just wanted to show you a couple of Victorian pictures of flowers, which it's just so beautiful. Look at this. Look at this. Look at these petunias. Like, I'm growing petunias right now, and these are way prettier than what I got going on. Like, they're beautiful. Of course, the Victorian rose. Now, if you think of the Victorians, I don't think that you cannot think of roses. That motif was everywhere. And, they really preferred big, fat roses. They wanted some that had some heft to them. The bigger the rose, the better back then. Which is funny because we've come back around a little bit on that, right? Okay, so here's another one. Look at these pretty little zinnias. Aren't they gorgeous? Just love the colors. I love the line work. I don't know. I love these things. Maybe I'm obsessed. I don't know. Maybe I'm obsessed. But after doing this research, I feel kind of obsessed. So, now we're going to talk about some common flower meanings, okay? And actually, we're going to pull back up this rose because there is so much to talk about with the rose. I'm not going to go into it all. I promise it'll be okay. But I think we should just talk about it. Let's talk about the rose again. Okay, so I was going to do this whole thing where we went through this book and looked at all this other stuff, and unfortunately, it kind of made me like computer sick to try to scroll through on this screen, and I don't want to get you guys computer sick. So we're just going to look at a couple of these You'll look at a picture while I find the information I'm looking for in this PDF of this book, which I will link down below. It is free because, you know, it's like almost 200 years old, and it's awesome. You should really take a look at it. I will pin that information after I get done with the stream here. Okay, so let's talk about the rose, right? Because obviously that's the flower that we tend to think of when we think of love, right? You're going on, it's Valentine's Day, we're going to do all of our lovey-dovey stuff, and you're seeing all these advertisements on the TV telling you about lovey-dovey stuff. What is it? It's all roses, right? That's the flower that we think of when it comes to love. So, let me take a look here. Now, the rose is like many of the other... Sorry for the noise up there. I think that they've forgotten that I'm streaming. Let me pull this up. Come on. Okay, so there are a number of different colors and types of roses. For example, the rosebud was seen to be a confession of love. The rose leaf, meaning I never trouble. Rose moss was related to superior merit and voluptuousness. Now, the red damask rose, which of course now the red rose, what do you think? Love. It meant love. And still today it means love. So that's interesting. Another thing that's interesting is the idea of the yellow rose. Now that meant infidelity. So if your lover wasn't being true, you might see some yellow roses. Other ones of interest, I think that we see... Now, I will say, if you check out the appendix, again, super recommend that you go check out this PDF after this live. But if you check out the appendix, you'll see that there are a number of plants that we just don't have anymore. Like, have you guys heard of succory? I don't know, scratchweed? Maybe I'm just not well versed. Maybe I just don't know. But what about the gillyflower? Tear? Venus's looking glass. I have no idea. I have no idea what some of these are. But let's look at some of the ones that I think that we're all pretty familiar with. Sunflowers. In this text, it represents false riches. Wow. Yeah, that's quite a bit. What about a tulip? We just saw those probably ending this month if you're in my area of the world. Tulips were a declaration of love. And so we talked a little bit about the poppy, but the white poppy itself represented fidelity and time. Oh, I'm sorry. I read that wrong. The white poppy represented sleep, which, you know, we already explained why that might be. The peach blossom. I am your captive. Interesting, right? Like, but the problem, of course, we're going to go ahead and get off that, and we're going to talk about the rest of this here. So the problem, of course, with all of that is that we had a whole bunch of different books that were all ripping off of this one, Le Langue des Fleurs, and sorry to any French people, yeah, I butchered it. Welcome to, you know, got it, okay. They ripped off this book and ripped it off and ripped it, and everybody wanted to add their little bit and their little bit, and it wasn't anything that was official to begin with. It was because this lady got confused, so it's like, it becomes really chaotic. It becomes really confusing because everybody wants a special something to make their piece of literary work stand out. So the definitions begin to change. And you can pick up one book and it says that this is about love, and in another book it says this is about sadness and despair. And it's like, you gotta kind of hope that your beau is reading the same book. You know, like maybe you gift them a copy of the book while you give them the flowers. Like, hey, you want to be talking like this? We gotta get our P's and Q's together. Here's the book. I've underlined the pages. This is the whole thing. Okay. So, in the discovery of this, and I promise we're getting to readings, okay? But I'm just not done here yet. In the discovery of all of this, I then found out a little bit more about their obsession with naturalism and with flowers. And then I discovered that they had made an entire craft of making flowers. So, depending on where you are, you may or may not be familiar with the Tussauds Museum, Madame Tussauds. So this is a wax museum, right? Well, as it turns out, and it's very popular, everybody knows it because they do like crazy wax figures of celebrities and public figures and royalty and all this stuff, and you can like go there and they're life-size figures and you can like hang out with Princess Diana or get a little kiss shot with Marilyn Monroe or, you know, wonder why Snoop Dogg looks like that. Man, they did him dirty. Anyway, so that obsession with wax was not just this one Madame Tussauds or whoever helps craft all this stuff. It was not. It was prolific during the Victorian time. So it was a parlor hobby. It was an activity that one would do while sitting in parlor. So I'm going to bring this up just to kind of show you here. There were entire books, kits. Like if you think today, like the one that comes to mind really for me is the resin modeling. You know how everybody was sticking anything that they could find into resin a couple years ago? Especially during COVID. Like, all of a sudden everybody had a hobby and a lot of it was sticking stuff in goo. Yeah, well, the Victorians were obsessed with wax modeling. Here I'm showing you a picture. It is a description of how one would work to create a rose. Okay, you'll notice it talks about pink matter used in a small tinting brush being best for blending the first colors onto the roses. So it was not only how to create and the shapes to create and what to cut and what to do, it was how would you color them? How would you fix them together? It's like a whole DIY project. So this then made me wonder, what else? Like, can I see some of these? Which brought us to this magazine. Now, this magazine, here we go, it's called 19th Century. This is volume 33, number 2. If you are interested in anything about Victorian society, how these things worked, if you are just like, man, these people were a little bit interesting, or I don't really know much, I'm kind of wondering how to get there. Yeah, absolutely. Like, this is the thing. This is the magazine, folks. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and skip. This was a free PDF also, by the way, so you should probably check it out. Okay, so we're going to check out this article in this magazine. Oops, sorry, not trying to make anybody sick. The article is called Capturing an Era Under Glass. Now, this was written by John Whiteknight. So, thank you, John. Thank you. Appreciate you. In the center here, it says a pair of male resplendent quetzals. Made by James Garner of London, circa 1870. So this thing is kind of crazy, right? But it talks about people studying the art of skeletonizing leaves or following courses in the art of taxidermy. So they were so obsessed with the wild world that they wanted to capture it. Anything that was natural, especially the exotics. Now, we saw a whole bunch of strange, rare creatures show up in art, in traveling shows, through museums. People kind of like got out of the idea of all the things that I've ever seen in England are the only things in the world, and they realized that there was this entire globe of creatures that they had never seen before. And I think that this is really what kind of pushed the naturalist movement that happened at this time and why people became obsessed with this kind of stuff. So this is the guy I wanted to show you. Oh man, I gotta be able to zoom in here. Hold on, guys. Come on now. There we go. There we go. Okay. Can you see him? Can you see this monkey man? Okay, it says the dentist monkey, 1875. I'm sorry. Okay, 1875. An intoxicated monkey gentleman opens his mouth wide as the leering monkey dentist brings the dental tool closer and closer. What? Look at these. Somebody made this. Somebody sat around and made this thing. All right. All right. I gotta get it together. This is too much. I gotta get it together. All right. Here's some examples of some other wax flowers. And these, I believe, are morning glories. And just look at them. Look at the quality, the way that the light comes through them. It's interesting because this thin wax allows for light penetration. So you can have backlighting. You can see the way that the lighting is, it's so soft on these petals. You know, and to think that somebody made this and then hand painted it, it's just, they're really pretty. The stuff is just really, really pretty. Now, of course, I'm assuming that a lot of problems happened with these, right? Because they didn't have air conditioning and these things were made of wax. So I'm assuming that a lot of them kind of just melted over the years, but I don't know. People got crazy with it. This here we're talking about this lady named Ms. Peachy, Miss Emma Peachy. She was a wax flower modeler, and she had like made all of these crazy bouquets, and it's said that she had over 50,000 visitors to her house to see her work. Nuts, right? This dome below that you see, this is kind of what she was making. She was making these absolutely insane things. Okay, here is a picture. It's kind of hard to see. Let's see if we can back out of this so that we can see it a little bit better. Okay, this is a picture of a Victorian wax modeling kit. So this is what you would receive, right? We've got some molds. We've got a little cutter there. We've got some different paints and dyes, probably stuff to mix up the wax itself with, some stencils, some tools that you would use for rounding, shaping, and modeling these things. So really, it is very much like today, any sort of do-it-yourself little hobby kit would be today. And they had that. And I just thought that was super interesting. So I'll go ahead and get back to my face. Hey guys, I'm back. Toby, stop! Get out of here. Dog. You love him, but also stop it. So, yeah. I just thought that was really interesting because I never really thought about the Victorian people having all of this, having all of these hobbies, but so that's something else that I want to learn about. But anyway, I hope that you learned a lot about Victorian flowers and a lot about just the language of flowers. The entire idea of like, we have our body language, we have our oral communication, but also here we've accidentally and now on purpose created a third language, which is the things that we give or that we're seen, but we don't really have good definitions for them. It's confusing. It's confusing. It was confusing back then, I'm sure, and you had to kind of be able to like. I doubt that people were digging into these books and being like, oh, well, okay. I think that it was kind of leaning on nuance, right? The situation itself, what that might mean. Um, but anyway, yeah, we don't do that today, and it's a shame because there's a lot of beautiful flowers out there, and we're missing out on them. All right, so that's enough about flowers. Again, my name is Sayward Moon. I am going to be moving into the oracle readings today. So, got about 15 minutes here. Not sure how many viewers. Oh, yeah. You're welcome, Lizanne. Absolutely. I am currently working on a YouTube video, which is the idea is that it's going to be set there to YouTube instead of being live. But I may turn it into a live because I'm not absolutely sure. The current idea I'm working on is titled "The 5 Biggest Greek Gods Who Were Jerks." Yeah, so the five biggest jerks of Greek goddom, whatever. Because yeah, I'm talking about Gaia and Uranus and all that stuff, and I started digging into it, and let me tell you, there are a lot of Greek gods who were just absolute jerks, and ridiculously so. Monumentally so. Also, I found some ridiculous pictures that I think, I don't know if they top Monkey Dentist. I don't know if they top Monkey Dentist, but they're good. So, we're going to watch them. We're going to look at them. We're going to talk about them. Just not sure how. So, anyway, if you or anybody else who's watching this has any ideas about what you would want to see for a live, I super really like this format where we talk about some interesting fact, some interesting, like, piece of life, whatever it is, be it moms or flowers or whatever, where we can dig into that and then we can get into the readings because I love the idea of sharing information with you guys. I find some wild stuff and it's just good to like have somebody to share it with. So anyway, all right. So it looks like right now I just have Elizabeth and Lizanne in chat. So I'm going to go ahead and read for you guys, and if nobody shows up to ask for a comment, then after that, I'm just going to go ahead and hop off live. Done quite a bit of computer staring and thinking and thunking today, and, you know, I also have to make dinner. That's fun. Anyway, let's see. Now, again, this is the Angels and Ancestors Oracle by Kyle Gray. I like this one because it offers a little bit of... It offers a single... Let's see if we're fighting the... I'm fighting the light again. Okay. It offers like a single bit of advice, but it comes with a guidebook that has a lot larger of a message. So, this is good. I think we're gonna do it. Alright, let's see. You know, Elizabeth, we're gonna go with you first, I think. Because we should honor our mothers. So you get to go first. Okay, I have a card for Elizabeth, please. Whoa. 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 I asked it and it's trying to hop too. Okay. I'm gonna get there. You received a card called Medicine Mother. And this card, there it is, Medicine Mother. The tagline on it says, honor your inner knowing. So let's pull up the book here and see what it Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I appreciate you. I really do. I'm glad that you guys like this. It's so much fun for me. Just love doing this. I really do. It's good to be able to share that with other people who like also get it. You know? Thank you. Okay, so the message for Medicine Mother. Oops, that is incorrect. Hold on. Here we go. Take action. Do what you need to do. It says, Mother always knows best. It's just talking about you being a mom. Anyway, Mother always knows best, they say, and it's true. We all know a maternal figure who's extremely intuitive and insightful, and this Medicine Mother has gone through many ups and downs. Sound familiar? She has lived and she has lost. She knows what it's like to suffer and want to give up. So the medicine of this card is that it's okay to make mistakes and to get it wrong sometimes, and it's okay for things to come to an end. It's not the end of the world, it's just the end of one chapter and the beginning of something new. The Medicine Mother reminds you that even though you will have low lows, you aren't here to suffer. You're here to be supported and to support others. So let her give you the loving encouragement and step forward. There is an extended message for this card I'll share with you now. It says there is an old pattern rising up in you now, and it's time to deal with it and release it for good. You're being encouraged to love and respect yourself enough to take the steps you know you need to take to move closer to where you'd like to be. You already know the answers. You know what you need to do. You may have been using delaying tactics or holding back, but now you are being guided to take action. Action requires courage, but your angels and guides are bringing you the courage to move forward. Take just one step. When you do, the next one will be presented to you. Okay. So I also love this deck because it's pretty clear. I like the extended messages, and it feels very comforting. So I hope that was helpful to you. I hope that was something that had some meaning. And now we're going to move on to Lizanne. Let's see what happens for you, Miss Lizanne. Oh, okay. Okay. That one is solid. Air Guardian. She says, shift your perception. Let's this one up. Air Guardian. Lizanne, change the way you think and you will change your whole reality. The Air Guardian card represents the angels of the air element. Traditionally, air is all about thoughts, thinking, and everything that's happening in the mind. So these angels can help you overcome any thoughts that have come back to haunt you from the past and to see the world more clearly. They are guiding you to change the way you think about certain situations, as this could be standing between you and greatness. There is an extended message for this card as well. It is as follows. When this card arises, it's an opportunity to learn about your way of thinking. You are being guided to recognize that not all you see is exactly the way you see it. Sometimes the mind can play games, and sometimes our perceptions can be wrong. If you are being challenged or feel that there's a lack of clarity and direction in your life at the moment, there's a good chance the way you're thinking or what you're focusing on has a lot to do with that reality. You are being guided to open your eyes and your mind, go beyond any limits you have set for yourself, and recognize that the way you see the world is how you will experience the world. Opportunities are moving in your direction, but they will only open up for you if you are ready to do the internal work to support them. So Sounds like you got a lot of work to be doing on following those dreams, and it's time to be running after them, girl. All right. Well, yeah, looks like just you guys showed up for this live, so that's all right. We've been here for over an hour now. Wow, that one really went. Okay. All right, so that was it. Some oracle readings. Thank you to you two who hung out to watch this, and thank you again to anybody who comes to check this out later. Yeah, if you have questions, if you have ideas for the next live, something that you want me to dig into, by all means, please do. And I will see you guys next time. Thank you so much for attending. Again, that awesome sale ends tomorrow, so if you were thinking about spell work, time to get it in. That can be found over at findyourdivinity.com. I'm on Facebook at Sayward, and you just found me here on YouTube. So if you've been watching and you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Blessings, everybody. Have a good day.